Hi, Blastpop here. Today I just completed a game of Warfighter WWII in the Pacific. I had just received this game and I kind of bought it on a whim, and I'm glad I did actually. Um, this is essentially a game of tactical combat in World War II in which you command a small force of American Marines in this particular game. There are other games in the series for modern and World War II in Europe and so on, which I won't get into here, but they do share a common system and play fairly similarly. So I read the rules, quickly set the game up, and in this particular scenario, my mission was a jungle patrol. So I had 13 turns, because you can see the time listed there, to win the objective. And the actual objective is down here, which I was never able quite to get to, called the river crossing. Um, and one of the things I found interesting about this is the card play and the dice rolling creates such a unique experience that you could play this particular scenario repeatedly and nearly endlessly and have a highly variable game every time you played, which is nice. So it's not set pat like the old Africa Corps by Avalon Hill. You know, the game was resolved the 2-1 surrounded at Tobruk. Not so here. You got a lot of forces. You build your force. So I had 3 soldiers. Now this is one area I have a minor quibble with. You have such a small force. It's almost like a special force, and you have to go against whatever the Japanese essentially throw at you. So as you're advancing, you start on this particular card here, and random cards, so to speak, not necessarily random, but cards that you place but don't know what they're going to be, get placed during the course of the game. So the first card I ran into was a moist jungle, a stream, kunai grass, a jungle, and then you have the river crossing. And as you can see, it was inactive. I never was able to get that far, unfortunately. So what I did is I had 3 soldiers, as I was mentioning before, and I have Albring, F. Eugene Fairman. Those are player characters, and then a non-player character, Williams. Now, he was wounded, and I finished this game, and it's obvious I didn't win the scenario because I didn't get to the objective and clear the site and hold it for 2 turns. Now, the mission timer, you keep track of up there, and it got down to 0, or to the final turn, and that was it. Now, I might have actually accomplished this scenario, but one particular force in question came into play from the Japanese called the harassing force. Now, you'll notice that it says towards the bottom, it says advance the timer counter by 1 at the end of every soldier turn. Now, a soldier turn is not an individual soldier turn, but more importantly, is after each group of soldiers does their turn. So instead of it going down 1 per turn, with that, it's going down twice. So it really cuts down on the time, the ability to get it. Now it's a harassing force, so it means it's kind of like staying off in the distance and thematically throwing desultory fire at your way and just kind of slowing you up and mucking you up. And my force had advanced so far at the time that I couldn't really go back to get him, because it would take as much time to go back to get him as is the extra time that it was ticking off the clock, and it was in about 2/3 of the way through the game that this card was played. So that kind of really sealed my fate. But it's if it was a little bit different, I might have knocked the unit out, and I would have been okay. Um, so anyway, what's nice about Albring in terms of my soldiers here is because of his ability. I gain an extra action each turn because he's a veteran. So instead of having 2 actions per turn, he has 3. And because he's a fairly decent soldier, he's got, good good capabilities. He's got a submachine gun. He's got guts, which allows me to remove suppression off of any soldier. He can help on health if your soldiers are wounded. And he's a gunman, so he adds 1 to his submachine gun roll, which is nice and effective because he hits, instead of hitting on a 7, as indicated on the card, he hits on a 6. You had Fairman here, and he has a rifle, a bayonet, a pistol, and he's got all kinds of effects that relate to melee. He's a knife fighter. He adds to his hand-to-hand rolls, stealth approach, level 1 and level 2, and he's a hunter. Great for hand-to-hand combat. Unfortunately, my lack of experience with the game, and because everywhere he was, there was a ton of Japanese forces that were actually targeting him, I never got the hand-to-hand combat into play. I need to practice and figure out how that works a little bit better, because I might have missed out on a valuable opportunity that might have made a difference. And then finally you have a Squatty, and a non-player character. Actually, he's not really a squad character. And he has his own effects and weapons. And he drew some fire, and he did a little bit of damage, so he was helpful. I'm not sure he was 9 points helpful in terms of what he did, because the number in the upper right-hand corner is the number of points it takes to purchase the force. Now, at the start of this scenario, those resources are based on the type of action or mission you have. It says resources 62, so I have 62 points worth of stuff to purchase. So that's how I got my forces here. Now, I had a blast with this. I'm going to be playing this more. I'll probably be adding to my collection fairly soon of cards and such. And so it's really enjoyable. And the one thing I can say is, while I do like the Pacific and World War II, there's one rule here, a second rule that I can kind of quibble with, and it's because of the jungle and the tropical effects. You have an environmental effect like hot +6, and then basically when you don't roll that number every turn or higher, you get essentially a suppression, so you're just less effective. Now, I know thematically it works, but I'm not particularly a fan of that rule. So I know it's my copy of my game. I can choose to modify or not use it at all. But I do want to give it a try a few more times. I'm just not thinking it might be OP or overpowered from my perspective. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say on that, if you have a differing point of view, having maybe played this more than I have. And additionally, while interesting and fun, I'm also thinking that maybe the European version may be more to my taste. Don't get me wrong, I really like this. I'm going to be playing this a ton. But it's, nonetheless, it's something that kind of sours me a little bit on the game, even though I like it very much. So anyway, this has been Warfighter, an after action report. Definitely going to be playing that again. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Bye.